Okay, you gonna give me a
I'll do
countdown?
our normal countdown. Yeah. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Emily. Hopefully this podcast won't have so much crazy stuff happen as your actual day did today. Hopefully you didn't forget your recording snack because, food's very important. I actually don't have one with me, but I do have my water, so I shouldn't need to take a random break and stare into the camera while I drink some water today. Just like a lot has happened in your real life day today, a lot happened in the NASCAR race yesterday. Perfect segue. I'm sure you planned that all out just for this opening line of this podcast. A lot happened in this race yesterday. It was a very good race until about 25 laps to go, and then it devolved into absolute madness and chaos, which isn't always a bad thing unless there's too much madness and chaos, and then there's just too much madness and chaos. I said yesterday, or last night rather, on the post-race show that rather than comers and goers in this race, there were guys getting thrown down the stairs and just flying up the escalator, because that's really what it felt like. There was a lot of guys that finished around where they ran all day. There was also some guys that were 20th with 5 to go that ended up in the top 5, or vice versa. They were in the top 5, top 10 with 5 laps to go and ended up in the 20s or 30s because turn 1 was basically a war zone. So what were your overall thoughts on this race and all the overtimes, and just how it all transpired in the final moments?
Yeah, so as a whole, I don't really love road tracks. They're just not my fave. Give me an oval. I like an oval. I like super speedway, honestly.
Well, of course.
Is that just classic NASCAR fan right there? But the action at the end gave me enough to be like, okay, I could do this. I like it. I like it when people crash. What can I say? No, I don't want them to get hurt, but
obviously,
and now, add some excitement. That's fine. So, I thought it was an overall pretty interesting race. Not a lot of excitement as far as leaders go. A lot of excitement as long as people getting out of the race.
Yeah.
Even though it was not the people I would have chosen to have that scenario. Yeah. So that's kind of a bummer. But overall, it's kind of my thoughts there.
Yeah, I thought the racing, I'm with you. I like some crashing. Now I don't like too much chaos. I thought yesterday it might have run over my chaos meter, to where it's too much.
There were points I was ready for it to end.
Yeah, that's where I was
sure.
too, and I like that you brought that up, because that's what I've seen from a lot of people. It's like 1 green, white checkered, I'm fine with that. 2 and 3, we got, is kind of okay, this is becoming more random, more randomized. Guys aren't getting the finishes they deserve. Daniel Suarez, who ran in the top 10 all day, ended up 27th. We'll talk about him a little bit later, because he had a lot to, maybe not, well, he did have a lot to say after the race, and he also had a lot to meet with the front bumper of his race car. But he was one guy who, he got thrown down the stairs. Kyle Busch was a guy that got flown up the escalator. He used some strategy to end up second, but really nobody had anything for Tyler Reddick, who was the driver of the day yesterday pretty easily. He waxed the field as much as you can wax the field when you got to go through. You got to win that race 5 times, because 3 green, white checkers. He had 2 great battles for the lead. He was even on different strategy, and he still won. That car was on rails, and he himself was on rails. 4th career win for Tyler Reddick, and his 3rd actually on a road course. So he is, it's not just Chase Elliott being out, because we saw him win 2 road courses last year, but he's turning into a top 2 or 3 road course driver in the sport. Which I think, these NASCAR guys, they're still not all experts at it. It hasn't been that long ago that we only had 2 of them on the schedule, but these guys are getting gradually better at these. Let's take a look at the results and see who did finish, where they finished. Stage 1 was taken by, did Reddick win Stage 1? No, Byron won Stage 1. Reddick won Stage 2. Reddick, though, does get the win. Kyle Busch in 2nd, off of some strategy. Alex Bowman, love to see it, in 3rd. Ross Chastain was one of the guys that flew up the escalator. He went first he got thrown down the stairs, then he went up the escalator. Should have a few bruises on him, metaphorically speaking. But gets involved in a wreck after running in the top 5 and ends up in 4th. I have no clue how. William Byron in 5th. He and Reddick were clearly the 2 dominant cars on the day. Cindric 6th, Stenhouse 7th, Buescher 8th, Ty Gibbs career best in 9th, Todd Gilliland 10th. Corey LaJoie, let's go, Emily. Corey Hype Train is still going. He's still in the postseason. I think he's like the last guy in, but it's better than being out. So proud of you, Corey, keeping the underdog mentality. Michael McDowell in 12th, Kevin Harvick 13th, Kyle Larson in 14th, Chase Briscoe in 15th. What did you think about Denny's day? Denny had a rough go of it. He got involved, or he spun in some of that dirt that was over the track in turns 8 and 9. He had a rough go of it yesterday.
Yeah, it was rough. I felt like every time I was seeing him, first of all, I did not love his car paint scheme.
Oh, you didn't like the interstate battery scheme?
No, I didn't love it. I like his classic colors,
Yeah.
Like, weird vibes there. So, if I'm going to judge something, it's definitely going to be the paint. But, he just kind of like a lot of races this season for him. It's not going well.
Nope.
There was, a few moments of hope in there.
Yep.
But as a whole, not his race.
No, it wasn't. He was interviewed before the race by Michael Waltrip, and Michael goes, "Hey, Denny, you think you got a chance to win today?" And he says, "No, I really don't think so. We'll see what happens." He didn't seem too confident in his race car yesterday. Martin Truex got thrown down the stairs late in this race. He was 5th, and then he got spun, ends up 17th. Jenson Button, the best of the road course ringers, best of the F1 guys, in 18th. Justin Haley, 19th. Noah Gragson in 20th. Ryan Blaney had a really rough day in 21st. Harrison Burton, 22nd. Eric Jones, 23rd. Jordan Taylor, 24th. Cody Ware, 25th. Josh Bilicki, 26th. Suarez, 27th. We'll be hearing plenty about him later in the show. Joey Logano, 28th. Kimi Räikkönen, 29th. Eric Almirola. He was a guy that just kind of stayed in his same spot all day, which isn't good when you start in the 30s and you finish 30th. His car had no speed. He had a rough weekend. Christopher Bell, 31st. Ryan Preece, 32nd. He tweeted out after the race, and we'll talk about this later, that he simply tweeted, "What a bunch of hats." So he was not very happy with the quality of the racing at the end of that thing. Austin Dillon, 33rd. AJ Allmendinger, my pick, 34th. So Emily, you did have one up on me this weekend.
I did. Your guy not so great this week.
No, he did win the Xfinity race though, which I picked him to do. So I was 2 for 2 in my weekend picks, and I was hoping to be 3 for 3, but then the Cup race had other plans. Brad Keselowski, 35th. He was involved in 4 separate incidents. He was spun 3 times, and then his car decided that it was too dizzy and simply stopped on the track. Connor Daly, 36th. Bubba Wallace, 37th, had a brake line break, which that's a weird thing. He had a brake line break. Jimmy Johnson and Ty Dillon did not complete a lap in this race, so Ty Dillon...
It's really quite the bummer for them.
It really was. And Ty Dillon, I'm kind of done giving sympathy and chances to Ty Dillon. He's had chances. He just hasn't done much with them. But Jimmy Johnson, unfortunate for him. He really wanted to race in this race. Next time we'll see him in NASCAR. They're just happy he
didn't even get to try.
Yeah, he was happy to just be there. Next time we'll see him as the Coke 600. But I saw a meme that NASCAR Chasm, who is NASCAR's resident funny man, you should go check out his stuff all over NASCAR.com. It's great, but he does fake text after each Cup Series race to the winner. And Tyler Reddick was texting Jimmy. He said, "Rough day out there for you." And Jimmy goes, "Yeah, but my stat line looks a little better now. Before today, I had never completed a lap at Cota, and after today, I've completed half a lap at Cota. So it's looking a little bit better." Obviously not the result that Jimmy fans wanted, but oh well. We're going to take our first commercial break here. We will come back. We will talk about the point standings and what's next on the itinerary. Point standings, Daniel Suarez, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Preece, they all had pretty choice words, each regarding kind of separate things Sunday afternoon, but we will talk about what they said. Emily, I love that we actually have commercials for these now, even if they're 3 or 4 seconds and recorded by you. They're still, they're funnier than a lot more commercials. I don't know if they're going to become the worldwide sensation.
They should be Super Bowl
yeah, Super Bowl commercial. Come out. It's only 4 seconds, but I'd gladly pay $100 million to see that on Super Bowl television. I don't know if it's going to become as much of a meme as the Whopper commercials that Burger King has, but BK, if you want some ads, I mean, Emily, I'm sure could hook you up with some chicky nug ads. So, give her a call.
Right.
Her phone number? No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to give out phone numbers on the air. That's irresponsible.
369. You don't know that. You're too young.
No, I don't. Every time you make a pop culture reference that I don't understand, you have full permission to shun me on the air because that's funny content. Let's take a look at these standings. Oh my gosh, NASCAR.com updated it. It only took them like 15 hours to do so. They still weren't updated at 10 this morning. So I don't know what they're doing over there at NASCAR.com, but I don't know how hard it is.
If they would just hire you, you would do it.
Yeah, I'm sure I would. I'm sure I'd be even worse at it than they are. If you haven't noticed,
no, you would have it done before the race, and they'd be like, "You can't do it yet. You have to let the race finish."
Yeah, you have to let it finish. It is funny though how we as humans, we always criticize people for doing really tough jobs, and then when somebody asks us if we can do that, we always deflect. It's like, no, yeah.
Do you think it's difficult to add points into a thing? I mean,
probably
yes,
not. No,
probably time consuming, and yes, you have to ensure it's accurate.
Well, you also, I guess they have to wait.
I don't know.
I guess they have to wait for post-race inspection just to make sure nobody got DQ'd. But still,
I mean, see, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
I feel like you could always alter it and be like,
yeah, you can too, and that's the thing. And I don't know if it's just because they have a few less drivers. I feel like that wouldn't have much of an impact on it. But the Truck and Xfinity points are always updated, like 2 or 3 hours max after the race, and the Cup points just take so long. I don't know why. I don't know. It doesn't seem like too difficult, but I don't know much about it. So Ross Chastain is the regular season points leader with his 4th place finish. Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Ricky Stenhouse, William Byron, and now Tyler Reddick are the drivers locked into the playoffs. Corey LaJoie right now is the last man in the playoffs by 13 points. Alex Bowman is the first man out of the playoffs by 13 points. So, Alex, if you could just win a race and not bump Corey out on points, that would be so cool. I mean, I'm more vested in the better interest of Alex Bowman than Corey LaJoie, admittedly, but,
never would have guessed.
I want Corey to make the playoffs. That'd be so cool. But Chastain is the regular season points leader by 19 over Kyle Busch. Let's see, we are 6 races in, and Bowman has the most top 10s out of anybody with 5. That makes me so happy. He's also tied for the lead in top 5s with 3, which Reddick and Bell are the only other drivers to do so. So if he didn't have his penalty, he would be leading the regular season points by 15 for the 2nd week in a row. Hendrick, why did you mess with the louvers? Maybe they can get some of the penalty rescinded. Their appeal set for Wednesday morning, so we'll see about that. But Chastain is plus 85. He's looking really good right now. Harvick plus 60. Bell plus 58. Blaney plus 51. Cindric plus 40. That's surprising. Truex plus 39. Keselowski took a pretty good hit. Lost 22 points this week. He is plus 36. Hamlin plus 35. Still sitting solid, I guess. He would be the last seed right now, though, for the playoffs because he has no playoff points. Plus 31 is Buescher, plus 18 is Suarez, and plus 13 is LaJoie. Bowman 13 back, McDowell 14 back. Ty Gibbs holding steady, only 21 points out of the playoffs. Bubba Wallace and AJ Allmendinger each 36 points out of the playoffs, respectively. Eric Jones 40 back, Chase Briscoe 43 back, Todd Gillen 44 back, Austin Dillon. He got thrown down the stairs yesterday. I do want to credit him. He was running in the top 10 and then got wrecked, but still. Minus 46. Gregson 53 back. Larson is 69 back, as is Almirola. Just not very good starts to the season. Larson's had speed, but Almirola's just been doo-doo water so far. Priest 70 back. Burton 73 back. Cody Ware and Ty Dillon, they don't matter. They're not going to be they're not going to be in contention for any wins or anything like that. Manufacturer standings, yes, the Bowtie Brigade is still leading. Let's go Chevy. They are 11 ahead of Toyota and 13 ahead of Ford. Ford is 2 points back at Toyota, but all 3 manufacturers have won now this season, so that is something to note. Emily, anybody, I forgot to ask you this for results, but anybody in the point standings right now that's sticking out to you as really doing really well, overperforming, and anybody really underperforming in the back half of the points that you think needs to do a little bit better to start off the season?
I mean, Denny's just overperforming so much right now.
Oh, yeah.
He just is rocking it.
I mean, plus 35 is not a bad spot to be in. I'd love both my drivers to be plus 35 right now.
It's not too shabby, but I'd love to see him walk in. So, yeah, I don't know. That's my thoughts. Just Denny. That's all. I decided, you know what? I'm done following other people. If I'm believing in it, if it's going to be Denny in the end, I'm just going to believe in him now, and it's going to be Denny. So
it doesn't have to be tied, but it does have to be Denny. That's what I've learned from all that. Oh, my camera's been on the entire time. Emily, you can probably see it. I know none of the podcasters it doesn't really matter, but my ceiling fan is on right now, and the blades look like they're spinning so slowly. I guess the camera on this laptop just isn't in a high enough resolution to capture the fan. But it's like, look at the fan. Like, I promise you, it's on like full blast right now, and you can see it. It's the fan blades are going at like no speed at all. So I mean, it doesn't really
strange.
It is. It doesn't matter to anybody listening to this at all. But I just wanted to talk about that. Okay, now we get into the meat of this podcast. We got 3 separate drivers to talk about, all of which had something to say. One of them really had something to use his front bumper up about, and that's the first one of these, Daniel Suarez.
Yeah.
Look, Suarez, you're a cool guy, kid. Hang on. You're a cool guy, pal. That's what I meant to say. I called him a kid. He's like 12 years older than me, so that's not odd at all. But Suarez, he's a good driver. He's a solid driver. Got his first win last year with Trackhouse. It seems like he's really coming into his own. Yesterday, he was understandably frustrated when Alex Bowman spun him out. But what he did not know was that Ross Chastain was the one that got into Bowman and then turned him around. And so he was frustrated with both of them after the race. He goes around on the cool-down lap, which is ironically named because Suarez was not doing any cooling down of any sort, rams into the back of Ross Chastain, moves him out of the way coming to pit road, and then slams into Alex Bowman. And I'm glad they were going slow because thankfully Bowman's car didn't veer to the left and into the official on pit road. There's going to be a penalty tomorrow. I have no doubt in my mind, whether it be a fine or points penalty. I've already said fines don't matter. Fines don't do anything. If you're going to penalize somebody, barely make it a 5 or 10 point penalty. Fines don't matter. These guys are all multimillionaires, and even if they're not, their owners are going to pay the fine. But anyway, what are your thoughts on his actions, Emily? What are your, do you think they were warranted, or do you think his frustration was warranted? It is noted as well. He wasn't just angry with Bowman. He had a talk with him. It looked like that was fairly cordial. His talk with Ross Chastain, though, his own teammate, there seemed to be a little more animosity there. Chastain was quoted as saying to him, "Don't act all high and mighty," to his own teammate. And he said also that, "I'm usually angry at Daniel," and then he backtracked and said, "I don't mean to say I'm always angry at Daniel, but I do mean to say we've had a few spats." So it seems like there's some animosity in the garage. I don't think Justin Marks would let it go on if it was reaching a level that really disrupted the race team, but they're not happy with each other. I'm going to kind of take Bowman out of this equation because it seemed like Bowman and Suarez are fine now, but him and Chastain, they're teammates, and they're both running up front week in, week out. This is big news if they are really angry at each other a lot.
Yeah, to me it sounds like they've got something they need to work out off camera.
Yeah.
Like there's something going on. They might need to have a little chat, little wrestling match there. And figure some things out. Let's get our kindergarten problem solving skills out.
Maybe you need to teach them, Emily. I mean, you've wrangled some children before. It seems like they're kind of acting like some. And speaking of acting like children, what do you think of Suarez? I mean, his words with Chastain obviously were a big part of this. What do you think about his actions? I mean, coming on the pit road at a high speed, punting Chastain out of the way on the cool down lap, not even during green flag action, and then hitting Bowman. I mean, there's got to be some sort of penalty. NASCAR's not going to let that slide. And you said it. If it's in the name of safety, they need to act. And I think this is in that area. What do you think about this?
Yeah, that's always my opinion. Is safety first and do something that's going to make an impact.
Yeah.
If it's safety related, you've got to show people you're serious and that you don't put up with this.
Yeah. And referring to what you were saying about like a wrestling match or something like that, Rick Hendrick, when his drivers were having feuds with each other. Now, it hasn't happened last year, Larson and Elliott kind of had a thing. Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon kind of had a thing. But when his drivers were acting a fools, and they're acting like children, he would have what he called a milk and cookies chat. And it's exactly what it sounds like. He would bring the two drivers. We're going to sit down with
milk and cookies.
Yep, he would bring the two drivers
out.
Exactly. He would literally sit them down. He would talk to them like children, is what he would do. Kind of playing some mental games with them, but he would set some chocolate chip cookies and some milk down on the table in his office and say, all right, you're going to act like kids. I'm going to treat you like kids. I don't know if that's what Justin Marks needs to do with his drivers, but it sounds like that, that's what I would do. Because you got two great drivers and great equipment here, and this isn't going to work. So we're going to take another commercial break.
You got to be a team.
Exactly. Teamwork makes the dream work, and you can't have any dream work without any teamwork. Am I right? New poster. Make it now.
That's right.
I'm going to take another commercial break, and we got two other guys to talk about. They made a lot of noise yesterday, especially Ryan Preece. Okay, back from our commercial break. I can't remember the sequential order of those commercials, but I'm pretty sure that was the Walmart chicken nugget commercial that I just played. I'm not entirely sure on that. So go to Walmart.
One is pure gold.
Go to Walmart and I like the KFC one a lot just because of how like professional you sound on the end. Like KFC, like at the end of it. That gets me laughing every time. What doesn't get me laughing is one of my favorite drivers, Bubba Wallace, finishing 37th. I know every driver has adversity happen to them, but dang, Bubba has bad luck. A brake line, an oil line, and a tow link all breaking on him. He goes plowing into Kyle Larson yesterday. He what?
You're going to get some crap for that.
Oh my gosh, what?
The Bubba haters are going to come out and say, oh, he doesn't deal with anything more than anyone else.
Yeah, I've actually I got a comment on that earlier, was taken down. All right, I took it down because I'm not going to start a fight or anything like that, but I got a comment like that already, and I was like, oh boy.
For Bubba. They do. Like, guys just...
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that to the fans.
Wait, what did you say? Okay. The last part got cut off.
Oh, they need to let it go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's made some mistakes like everybody has. Stuff like Vegas last year, I understand why you're mad. Yeah, I don't know what he was doing there, but... he's under a microscope for, people can interpret why he's under a microscope for their own reasons, but, that's the way it is. He's in the sport. He's here to stay. He's a cup winner, so he's not going anywhere anytime soon. According to him, he should, though, because after he got out of the car, he said that, quote, I need to be replaced. 2 rookie mistakes in the last 2 races that I should not be making 6 years into my Cup Series career. I should be replaced. Now, we saw it last year, especially Bubba Wallace is hard on himself. He's his harshest critic, even the most hatery of the haters out in wherever they are. All the keyboard warriors, as Mike Joy would say, aren't as hard on Bubba Wallace as he is on himself, at least for his racing abilities. And I'm going to get real for a second. Bubba Wallace has publicly come out and said that he's dealt with bouts of depression before, which, I'm not going to pretend like I'm a licensed doctor, psychiatrist, physician. I'm not any of those, nor have I had any experiences close to Bubba in regards to depression or anything like the stress he's under as a professional athlete, especially one that's gone through what he's gone through, especially, in the summer of 2020. But he does need, and Kenny Wallace said that if you need to look up Kenny Wallace's channel on YouTube. Anybody, not just you, Emily, but anybody. He's a retired driver. Didn't have a ton of success in NASCAR, but he knows the industry. And he was talking about this today. He had a really good take on it. He says Bubba, he doesn't need a racing coach. He's fine there. Not perfect, obviously, but, he needs almost a life coach. He needs somebody to tell him that it's okay to not be so tough on yourself, so down on yourself, because there's a difference between not being brash and being self-detrimental to yourself and your confidence. Because I've done that before, basketball wise, video. I've done that to myself, where I've degraded myself, beat myself into the ground, and now I'm like, oh crap, I have no confidence anymore. I can't do that anymore, and I'm better about that now. but it's a real thing. I mean, racing is mental. Racing is a sport that I think places a mental strain on you more than probably any other sport in the world. Just because it's endurance, it's physical, it's all that rolled into one, and especially in NASCAR where you're sitting in a hot car, muscling these 3,500 hunks of metal with an engine in them around for 4 hours. It's a real thing. But what are your thoughts on this whole deal? I mean, what do you think about the situation, and do you think Bubba, what do you think he needs to do going forward?
Yeah, so I think, he's got to give himself some grace and realize that, like, just because there's some quote-unquote rookie mistakes, I mean, that doesn't make you a rookie. He is still a great driver.
Yeah.
He deserves to be in the position he's in. Like you said, he's a Cup race winner. Mm-hmm. He just made mistakes, and you got to find that point where you can move on from that. Because if you keep bringing yourself down in it, you're not going to be a winner.
Yeah, that's a great explanation.
You're going to psych yourself out.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on.
Out to continue to make mistakes with that attitude.
Yeah. The only way you're going to stop making mistakes is if you stop thinking about making mistakes. Because if you're just thinking about it constantly. Yeah. No self. I mean, again, there's a difference. I'm not going to say there's exactly a fine line because they're really two extremes. There's a difference between being brash and boastful and just being so self-degrading that you're your own worst enemy. There's a huge difference there, and I think that's his biggest deal. But again, I'm not a doctor or anything. I'm not, involved in Bubba's personal life, but mentally, I'm not sure he's in the best spot, at least on the racetrack. And I do think, seeking some help for that would be great. Because I care about him, the racer. I'm a fan of his on the racetrack, but. For every driver, this goes for every driver out there. I care about their personal lives. These aren't just robots programmed to go drive race cars for a living. And we've seen that with injuries. We've seen that, with Chase Elliott. We saw that last year with Kurt Busch and Bowman being out with concussions. Kyle Busch in 2015 when he broke his leg. These aren't, robots
Not
programmed.
Anyone can get in that same car.
Yeah.
And do the same things.
Exactly. Yeah. They're humans
people
too.
People make assumptions that that's what it's like, but it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, and there's a deeply human aspect to racing too. I think that comes, we've all heard the expression, of course racing is a dangerous sport. That's why they're in it for the thrill. But, the thing is, they're all thrill seekers, sure, but that danger is scary. And whether it be a mental thing like Bubba's going through, whether it be the fear of death or injury. I mean, especially in the early days of the sport, where there were fatalities in these races, just constantly. That mental aspect was a huge part of it, and I'm sure there were guys that definitely psyched themselves out. So yeah, that's our thoughts on Bubba. Let's move on to Ryan Preece. My computer just did a really weird thing where it completely just X'd out all my tabs. I promise you I'm not making this up as a scapegoat for my inability to use technology. We sign back in here. But Emily, Ryan Preece yesterday tweeted out and said in a post-race interview that everybody is a bunch of hacks. Of course, you as a Denny fan, me as a Bowman fan, we've seen some drivers use that language before, and Alex Bowman even put it on a T-shirt after he won Martinsville in the fall of 2021. But he was referring to guys like driving through each other. Oh goodness, Emily lost me on the Google Meet. Oh no. Oh no. Oh dear. Okay, I'm sorry guys. Let's see here. But anyway, Ryan Preece said guys were a bunch of hacks. And said, that's what he said. Hopefully she can get back in. But Ryan Preece was not very happy with the field yesterday. I apologize for this little lapse here. There we go. I don't know what my computer did, Emily. I apologize about that. It just X'd out all my tabs. I have no clue what happened. But but it didn't. I think our podcast was too awesome for the computer to handle.
That's right.
To be quite honest. Anyway, I just talked to nobody for 1.5 minutes there, so I just made myself really look a fool. But Ryan Preece, after this race yesterday, I kept the camera rolling the whole time too, so I don't know if I'll edit this out or not, but some good blooper reel for you. But Ryan Preece yesterday, after the race, said on Twitter and in his post-race interview that, quote, everybody is just a bunch of hacks. He was not happy with the way he was raced. Of course, he was involved in a wreck. Or the way the racing kind of devolved into slight chaos there at the end of that thing, with all the restarts and everything. What are your opinion on his comments? I don't think everybody's a bunch of hacks, but I think there is, and we'll talk about this in a second, that there's a lack of respect in the Cup Series garage.
Yeah, so I think overall he was probably just frustrated in the moment, and yeah, it didn't go his way, and it didn't go a lot of guys' ways.
Yep.
But there's no reason to act like that about it. Just move on. If you saying that is not going to change the outcome of the race.
That's true.
So, yeah, I think there was a way to address that differently and to express his feelings without bringing others down.
Yeah, I do too. So. That was a very kindergarten teacher way to explain that, Emily. I feel like, that's like a TED Talk on kindness and stuff.
There you go.
I agree. I think he was frustrated. I think he has a slight point because I think these guys do drive a little crazy, certainly.
Well, sure. That's the sport.
But, he's guilty of it too. I promise you, he's guilty of it too. He's been very vocal about mistakes that guys make. Did it after he lost the Truck Series race last year at Charlotte after getting wrecked. But yeah, we're going to take, it'll probably be our last commercial break, come back and talk a little more about the possible lack of respect, oh my goodness, in the NASCAR garage.
All right, Samuel, I got to get off in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm keeping track of the time for you.
Okay.
I know it's bachelor night.
It's bachelor night, and I got to get to my friend's house for it.
Got to go. All right, so we're going to get through this kind of quickly, but you're okay. We have a live audience for the next 20 seconds.
Is it Mage? No,
it is not Mage. No, Mage was in a video. He followed me in here when I was recording my video for this afternoon, and just he didn't block out my face the whole time, but he did just kind of sit there, which was funny and odd. It's not what he usually does. But yeah, Ryan Preece obviously was.
You getting new sheets on your bed?
I am getting new sheets. Oh wait, yeah, my camera's on. You can see all that, can't you?
Yeah.
There's no video for this, so no, you're not getting recorded putting sheets on the bed. Although it seems like a riveting topic for a podcast. So if you want to come co-host a podcast about putting sheets on a bed, you absolutely can.
That would be all up your mother's alley.
That it really would. Ryan, we just touched on it though. Ryan Preece yesterday, he was not very happy with his competitors. He called everybody a bunch of hacks. But this kind of segues into our next topic. Is there a lack of respect? A lot of people have called this out, not just him. Kyle Busch last weekend where were you last week? Atlanta. A lot of people have called it out, not just this year, but last year, about the lack of respect in the garage. Is there a lack of respect in the garage? Do you think, I think there certainly is. There are times when these guys just have not no regard for human life, but no regard for their fellow competitors' results or anything like that, the well-being of their car. We did see guys yesterday race with a lot of respect during green flag racing, but how much of a lack of respect do you think there is?
Yeah, so I think it depends on the guy, and obviously, their attitude and whatnot. But I think it comes down to a general sports situation. So here's how I see it. I think that while there is a lack of respect, that these guys come together when they need to. Mm-hmm. We've seen this in various sports over the years, in football and basketball and whatever. These people can be competitive and maybe point out others' flaws and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I think they do genuinely respect each other and are there for each other. So I think, while day to day it may not show, I don't think it's as messed up as maybe it comes off at times.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think there's just a ton of animosity between every driver in the garage. I just don't think that's true. But I do think during races there can be a lack of respect. But we've seen it the last 2 weeks, the way guys have raced each other. You had Logano and Keselowski last weekend at Atlanta. They raced really clean. Byron and Reddick and Kyle Busch and Alex Bowman, they all raced pretty clean yesterday at the finish. Everybody from 10th on back was dive bombing everywhere into turn 1, but everybody else did. So I agree. I think these guys can come together. I think just on the racetrack, there are no friends. Going to go into our last few topics here so we can let Emily go watch The Bachelor. Because that's incredibly important.
Important things. I'll let you know next podcast.
Yeah, let me know who wins.
Winner is.
Yeah, let me know. Oh, are they crowning a winner tonight?
Tonight is the grand finale.
Oh boy, the grand. Okay, yeah, I really do need to let you. I can't let you miss that. That'd be like making me miss Phoenix.
Oh no, I'll just disappear. You'll never notice. I'll disappear before I miss it. You'll just be like, wait, I'm talking to nobody.
Yeah, the Road Ringers. I do want to mention this. This will be our last thing before our final thoughts. The Road Ringers yesterday came in and, to be honest, didn't do a whole lot. Jenson Button was the best, finishing of them in 18th, and I have it on our itinerary here. Thankfully, he didn't, I guess, officially have it, wasn't medically diagnosed, but he did say he was feeling like he had heat exhaustion, that he almost had to get out of the race car. The common thing, though, that I heard was that this racing was very close quarters. This racing was a lot more contact than what they're used to in Formula One and sports cars. Obviously, Jordan Taylor said that if you tried that in IMSA, if you tried that in sports cars, you would be getting tossed out by the sanctioning body. They would not, deal with this. And I think the type of track Cota is, plays into this. What did you think about how these guys performed? They didn't really, get up close to the pack. And what do you think about their comments regarding how NASCAR is different from F1 and sports cars and all that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it feels so totally different to them. So, and I don't know a lot about Formula One.
Yeah, me
I
neither.
Don't have that perspective. But, I was kind of hoping to see more. It's kind of like the root for the underdog mentality. Like, it would have been kind of cool if one of them had come and, won the race. That would have been kind of legit. For them, for everybody. It would have been, really interesting, kind of created a new challenge for everybody. But, unfortunately, it didn't quite play out how it could have, or, I don't know. You never know what to expect with something like that.
Yeah, I thought they did fine. I mean, Jordan Taylor qualified 4th. Clint Boyer even picked him to win on the broadcast, which I didn't think was a very smart thing to do since, this was his first Cup start ever. I thought they did okay.
I don't know that I would have picked anyone to win, though it would have been.
Exactly, yeah. But Jenson Button is going to be racing 2 more races. He's going to be there in Chicago for the street race 4th of July weekend, and he's racing the finale at Phoenix, so he will be racing an oval. Connor Daly also over from IndyCar, but, his equipment is trash. So, final thoughts here. Cota is wrapped up. Cota wrapped up this weekend for NASCAR. The trucks are going to Texas because they like to be different for whatever reason. Xfinity and Cup going to Richmond. Me and Emily, I can't talk. Me and Emily will be covered all week on the YouTube page, obviously, with Richmond coverage all week. And on the podcast, we'll have our midweek podcast and our preview podcast. So what are your final thoughts, Emily, regarding this weekend's race at Cota and then going into Richmond this coming week?
Yeah, this race gives me some hope for some excitement in future road races, and that, maybe I'll be able to handle them. So
we'll see. This was the in Richmond also, by the way, is the second race for that new short track aero package. So we'll see if I hope it puts on a better show than Phoenix did. Thank you for coming on the show again, Emily. Hopefully we'll get you out in time to not miss a second of the enthralling, exhilarating action of The Bachelor. Which I will definitely be tuning into for all 5 hours of coverage or however long it is.
Yeah, a solid two.
Yeah, we will see you again. Yep, probably Wednesday night when we might have some. I don't know how soon they'll announce it, but we might have some news on those Hendrick Motorsports penalties and all that. And I'm working on it. I still haven't gotten you an outro or anything that you can say at the end of podcasts.
That's okay.
But I'm working on it, I promise.
Follow and do all the things.
Yeah, rate, follow, comment, leave us. Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's on all your major podcast platforms. So that's really all you need to know.
Tell your people about it.
Exactly. Yeah, tell all your Bachelor friends about it. I'm sure they'll. I mean, you know, the Bachelor and NASCAR go hand in hand. So tell all the friends at the Bachelor watch party all about this. They'll jump right on it. You know. But thank you for coming on.
Definitely be all about it.
Yeah, thank you everybody for watching on YouTube or listening. I also am live streaming all these every time I record these now on YouTube, just, you know, for fun. So thank you for coming on, Emily. We will see all of you, or you will listen to us again on Wednesday night for the podcast, YouTube channel, The Spotter Stand. Stuff going on all weekend all week with videos there. So we'll see you all next time. Emily, if you want to lead us out with, I guess, just a goodbye, since I don't have a script for anything for you to say.
Goodbye, and see you next time.
Goodbye, everybody. All right, go, run to the car.
Woo! All right, adios.
All right, bye. Don't forget your lunch.
Right, bye.
Meow, meow, meow.